The average person sleeps with 7.5 people in their lifetime, but what about those people who sleep with Xanax and tissues? Well, they have harem anime. Because of this, we have a never-ending supply of harem anime that comes out each season. Yet, there has always been one that has reigned supreme, regarded as the king of harem anime, High School DxD. But behind the king is the queen of harem— Fuck out of here, Nisakoi! Behind that is the queen of harem anime, Data Live.
Yeah, didn't that come out like 11 years ago? And isn't it too late to make a video about it now?
No, you don't get it. Data Live is still massive. I mean, there's new seasons coming out that have millions of new viewers every day. So let's look back to see if it measured up to everything that a teenage boy imagined it could be. 30 years ago, a massive spatial quake occurred, killing 150 million people. Ever since then, spatial quakes would randomly occur with nobody knowing the cause. Shido is 16. He just learned what strippers are and he's gonna solve all these problems. What makes him so special? Well, when he tells women to calm down, they listen. Shido lives with his sister, who is twin tails and stockings that one can only love in a Japanese way, which is crazy that probably made sense to you.
You kiss your brother on the mouth?
One day, they promise to meet up at Not Denny's after school. I think that maybe— Shido quickly checks his sister's tracking chip he installed on her while she was sleeping to see that she's at Not Denny's. So to save his sister, he skedaddles out of there, but before he could make it, another spatial quake happens, and in the crater stood a woman. She's beautiful. For the first time, I don't want to sleep with my sister. Suddenly, they're attacked by the all-strong independent woman Air Force in aerodynamic armor that has my full support, since women can do anything a man can do. I think women should be drafted into the military. Shido wakes up on a ship and discovers that his sister is the commander of a group that deals with spirits, which are beings that randomly appear causing spatial quakes. This is why they need Shido, because he has a special ability that if he dates the spirit, makes them fall in love with him and kisses them, then they won't destroy the world. What are you talking about? Is this some kind of date to live? Say that again? The first 4 seasons of Data Live follow a rigid formula. First, the intro with an intuitive voiceover. After they discover a spirit appeared, they send in Shido to seduce the spirit. Luckily, he wears an earpiece where a group of divorced men and Twitch chatters vote to decide what he does, much like a dating sim. Unlike a dating sim, there's a massive delay between the two, so here's what it would look like without any internal dialogue.
It's hard to concentrate with such a handsome man in front of me.
Kurumi, what kind of panties are you wearing?
After they choose the wrong option, he locks in, asks her out on a date, makes a promise about whatever their insecurity or trauma's about, some evil entity attacks, causing Shido to piccolo himself. This semi-suicide successfully gaslights the woman into loving Shido, who seals it with a kiss, nerfing their powers or nerfing their homosexuality. Many fans regard Data Live as an anime with a deep, well-written harem plot. But this is an oxymoron, and much like a happy marriage, it can't exist. One of the things that Data Live did do right was after watching it all, you can tell that the overarching plot was planned out before it was written, leading to some great foreshadowing. During the rewatch, I felt like I was watching Attack on Titan, but without the good parts. Characters appearing before their debut in the background, the ghost saying "I'll see you soon" on episode 1, and even the prediction of Oshinoko. By the end of season 5, all questions that drove the story forward were answered in a pretty rewarding way. We found out what Shido is, what spirits are, what open relationships are. With the only problem being, the author must have forgotten he was writing a harem story. Plot in harem is like the feet. It's out there for some people, some freaks. Because of this, the story feels more like it was written by an intellectual Brian Griffin. I've seen Data Live 4 times, once at 14, once last year, once 2 months ago, and once last week. But why would I subjugate myself to the equivalent of a Mr. Beast challenge for nothing?
Because it's forgettable!
Even if the story has a solid overarching plot line, you forget most of the fluff in the middle because it's all entertainment with 2 minutes of plot building in between. Think about when you ask a film student what their favorite movie is. They'll probably say something like, "Oh, my favorite is Follow Sokon Lunarequinox. While if you ask the average man, he would probably say Legally Blonde, not because of its flawless writing, even though it has that, but because of its entertainment value. But that doesn't mean that Date A Live is good either. It has some of the most we need something for plot to happen moments. We must rendezvous in a place where the protagonist can hear us to do drugs instead of the bathroom right next to us. Season 3 is about to end early until this solid wood fence breaks. Oh no, during the attack outside, they accidentally hit the power grid. But like, only the part that disconnects my Spotify from playing, so we actually have to sing. Then you remember, this is a harem anime, and you forgive it because you don't care. But not caring is the main problem this series faces. A majority of people who watch this weren't watching for some deep, meaningful plot. We were watching to get carpal tunnel early. Around season 4, there was a huge tonal switch that changed from a balance of fan service and goofy humor to fully focused on plot development. But Date A Live, remember who you are. Stick an incest joke in there. There's no way to dispute that the last 2 seasons are objectively better written, but I preferred when it was more of a gag anime, when they had exploding radishes, fairs spawning out of the ground, and nuking Japan to get to hot springs because it was entertaining. Later, when a group of executives tried to drop 3 satellites on Japan to kill 1 guy as the climax for the story, I thought, what kind of evil Elon Musk strategy is this? You expect me to be invested in this? Because of the stark difference in tone, people started saying this was a super dark anime. Yeah, okay. After the second time they time traveled, I realized if people start dying, they're just gonna time travel to fix everything because Shido is a dirty scum saver. But that doesn't mean that there weren't deep, emotional moments. No, anything but that. Not the bread. If plot is the feet, then the dialogue is the mouth. And the dialogue of Date A Live has some of the most cliche lines that I've ever heard. There were times I felt genuine anguish when these characters opened their mouths.
Drop the chicken! Please drop it. Why won't you listen to me? Shido and I worked so hard on this. Drop it, please! I'm begging you, drop it, you have to!
The rest of the dialogue consists of the women saying, wow, I really love main character because he's a really good person, and me, a very attractive female, would fall for any guy as long as they're a nice guy. Or what they did during the last season to save money on writers was have them all screaming out each other's names every 2 seconds like a bad orgy. Most of the monologuing in this anime are nothing burger conversations to the point I instinctively began to zone out to my happy place whenever they started exposition dumping. This is problematic when you begin to realize they could be talking about anything else. Someone will randomly say a line like,
My opinion is she's at least a AAA rank.
what the hell does that mean? Well, you wouldn't know unless you read the light novel, which is why, instead of conversations about questioning blood relations, the time would be better spent on the characters. If the dialogue is the mouth, then the characters are the ass. Harem anime always runs into a reoccurring problem that the more women you add to the show, the less time each one has on the big screen. This will divide all women into one of 2 categories: those who get screen time and those who get to watch. I might not be explaining it right, so I'll let the anime do it itself.
With 8 spirits, there aren't enough pages to flesh things out. Not enough time to fall for the main character.
Before I say the next thing, I will mention that the characters are great, and I love almost every single one of them. It's what sets it apart from other harem anime, make it memorable, and made it as big as it is. But most of the characters are hollow shells with as much depth as kiddie pools. In the light novel, all of them became spirits due to some traumatizing past events they've gone through. Natsumi grew up in an abusive household as an illegitimate child with a mother who only used her for child support, never feeding her, constantly calling her ugly, even being bullied at school for her dirty appearance, which is why she always tried to change it. And the only reason I knew this is because I skimmed the wiki. But let's get specific, and no character is less important than the protagonist in a harem series. 10% of Shido's personality is his white man walk, and the other 90% is his savior complex. Which reminds me of another handsome man who sacrificed himself to save us and came back to life. Now, the women in harem anime are the most pivotal characters, so I'm only going to talk about 2 of them. Toka is the golden retriever character who's actually the main girl, not that anyone who hasn't seen the show would know since she's completely overshadowed. Poor girl just wanted a nice vanilla romance. Instead, she got cucked and fact, she got cucked out of her own story. But honestly, the only reason I brought up the characters was so that I could talk about Kurumi. I've never seen someone carry an anime as hard as Kurumi carried Date Alive. She's so influential, they put her on everything: credit cards, bookmarks, mouse pads, watches, clothes, blankets, plates, and tissue holders, and if you have that, you're probably already too far gone. Kurumi almost only appears after episode 7 each season, but the moment she does, the show vastly improves in terms of quality. On average, episodes with Kurumi in them increase in rating by 0.45. Not just that, but the highest rated media in all of Date Alive is an OVA about her. Before she appears, I found people begging for her to save the show like she's Robert Downey Jr. This is partly thanks to her amazing voice actresses for both perfectly doing a voice impression of Boo from Mario. Oh, and I guess this.
好き好き大好き結婚しよう my honey.
But regardless of my opinion, since it is a harem, never forget, best girl is whoever you want to be best girl. But that's how losers think! So here's the definitive Date Alive tier list. The villains, on the other hand, were ass. I was told that he's up there with Aizen's planning, but he was closer to Team Rocket. First off, his name is so funny to hear as an English speaker because of how they say it. Oh no, look out! It's Aizuko Westkoto! Second, he has the most villain-ass features. His laugh, his group is called Deus Ex Machina, and his plot armor is slightly higher than the average president's. He's constantly defeated and will say stuff like, "Of course, all part of my perfect plan. I'm actually playing 5D chess right now." For example, Kurumi, whose main ability is gun, decides after catching him off guard to punch him and leave. Yet, I can respect a story that makes a villain be a bad person because he enjoys watching people be sad, like an evil Mr. Rogers. Aizuko Westkoto also dropped an absolutely banger line.
僕を被害者にしてくれてありがとう。
Still can't believe they made the villain of the show women on Twitter. If the characters are the ass, music is the thigh highs. And Date Alive has some of the best intros, outros, and OSTs, specifically when they're played on the piano. But at the same time, you have the equivalent of my ears being waterboarded by Kool-Aid. Every time I hear this is one less time than I should have, unlike German Naruto. If music is the thigh highs, animation is the heart. Now, Date Alive has a major problem. It has a harem of studios. In its 5 seasons, it's gone through 4 different studios, resulting in every season having different animation styles. Season 5, for example, looked like a flash bomb was constantly being set off on my screen. Out of all of them, Season 1 was the most visually appealing to me with a more rugged look, but as it progressed, it became more modern, vibrant, and clean. To me, they made it look too perfect. They completely girly popped Shido. That doesn't mean that the animation doesn't go hard at times, but only at times when it wants the audience to go hard. When it's not focused on changing your blood flow, the animation's not great. I'm 90% certain that this is just 2 shades of purple lines. The fights are slideshows, and every shot is zoomed in so much I can hear their thoughts.
I get turned on by little elementary school girls.
But if animation is the heart, then the CGI is high cholesterol. Oh no, this fight's getting tough. I must go CGI mode! I still don't like CGI, and this is no exception. The constant switch between animation and CGI was so jarring. I couldn't take any emotional scenes seriously when they all look and feel emotionless. I understand the need to use CGI models since their outfits are detailed and having a big final battle with a harem budget isn't really plausible. It comes down to asking yourself, would you rather have a CGI fight or the 1 FPS slideshow fights of Season 3? My biggest problem with the CGI is the purpose of it is to have free-moving, unique camera angles, yet they somehow managed to still have it so zoomed in I could hear their CGI thoughts.
I try to go by the elementary school whenever the little girls have PE because I love watching them so much.
If CGI is high cholesterol, the community is the backbone. A community is the one who buys the light novels. A community is the one who purchases the Shido Itsuka ugly sweater. And a community is the one that sends me death threats on Twitter for not mentioning the Diddy Force episode. So, how does the Date Alive community look? Wow, Lunarequinox, I bet you feel like a real big man nitpicking comments for jokes. Oh yeah. Plot twist, they all squirted on it because they're the only things he doesn't eat. Yet. Oi, 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 oi. We get to have the MC with them girls in a hot spring. Hehe, this is Harem. She wants the dick.
Legendary comment.
The bar is actually so low. This is not Japanese Twitter. What happened to shame? However, I won't even pretend that having a community like this isn't the ideal situation for any anime, because these guys are more committed than lesbian vegans. I saw some people comparing it to the Grave of the Fireflies, and 90% of the devoted fan base gave it a 10 out of 10 even after listing its flaws. But these guys are the professionals. Some of them have rewatched it 11 times, which is approximately 17,600 minutes, 293.3 hours, 73 playthroughs of Doki Doki Literature Club. I'm certain when their lives flash before their eyes, half of it will be Data Live. Yet, I can forgive and forget everything in this anime, but there's one thing I can't forget. The goddamn penis blanket! What's your purpose? Data Live was a product of its time, and I love Data Live for what it was, entertainment. You can't compare this to things like Berserk, because that's like comparing apples to the Tesla Cybertruck. Despite the story coming to an almost conclusive ending, many people question if there'll be a season 6 with the 3 light novel volumes remaining. But we must first ask ourselves, why the hell would they do that? Add revenue from streaming? Well, I don't know about Japan, but in the West, it got less viewers than the random seasonal aristocrat isekai anime. Maybe to boost the sales of the source material? Well, a 6th season really wouldn't do that much compared to the first few seasons. Not only because the Data Live light novel ended in 2020, but let's suppose you watch season 1 and think, I might read the source material for this. And if by the time season 5 rolls around and you still haven't read it, you're probably not going to, because you probably don't fuck with books. But honestly, not making a season 6 is the smartest thing they could do for the light novel sales, since it's the only way to reach the conclusion of the story. Finally, merchandise sales, which Data Live fans spend a moderate amount of money on. However, it's kind of like a pimp. Most, if not all of the sales, don't go to the studio that produces the anime. So with the anime original ending, logistically speaking, they probably shouldn't make another one. It would make more sense to just make another origami chibi manga spin-off or a dating sim with Kurami's feet. In conclusion, when you combine all the oh shit, it made a femboy!
では行くぞデートに付き合っても構わないデートのお誘いですの私たちのデートを始めましょうなんか間が持たないねお待たせしましたシドダーリンとデートですか何言ってるのよ次の土曜日私がデートしてあげるよそうじゃな
デート私と
続きはいずれ
10 out of 10. Maybe I am part of the Data Live community after all.
Hey, that's the wrong Miku, man.
What do you mean it's the wrong Miku? Whatever. Click here to check out my most recent video. Click here to check out the recommended video. And click here to check out my second channel I'll never upload on. And I finally moved in. And for the record, I didn't wear the skirt, and I didn't wear the thigh highs. I'm still a man. I don't understand. What is this?